Last time on Mysterious Island.
Oh, I think I know where to find our Phantom.
We need a plan.
Over there. Get the clubs. Being attacked.
It was Cutler.
No, it can't be. Cutler's dead.
I beg you, Cutler. No! No, Cutler, please!
I saw him. The Phantom.
There he goes!
To destroy the bonds within the group. Nemo, no one rules my life.
Good day to you, Captain Nemo.
You disappoint me, Captain Harding. Going through another man's personal belongings, an act I would have thought beneath you.
Strange words, coming from a man who seems to have dedicated his life to invading the privacy of others.
Did you find anything interesting?
Who are you?
I would have thought you'd have found out that at least.
I now know your name, Captain Nemo. And I read something of your reputation from your press clippings. But what sort of man are you? What do you want of us?
I want only that you are yourselves.
You make no sense.
I am a researcher, a social engineer, a scientist.
Science? What does science have to do with the physical and mental torture of innocent people?
You're being a little melodramatic, aren't you, Captain?
Why haven't you helped us?
But I have. I've helped you all. My task is to help all of humankind. This folio contains the most detailed accounting of a man's gaining of self-knowledge on record anywhere.
Suicide. Ayrton committed suicide?
Yes, he was a very unhappy person. He had committed some terrible crimes for which he paid the price of utter loneliness. I'm devastated by his loss, of course, but then I was not the one to condemn him to death, Captain Harding. You were.
That's not fair. We had little choice. None of us wanted him to die.
No, it's not fair, Captain. You see, I was trying to rehabilitate Ayrton. I hoped that by introducing him to your group, he would receive the support and help he needed to turn his life around. I had no idea you would abandon him so completely.
You could have helped him. You could have saved us.
The demands of science are sometimes complex. As much as I may have wanted to save your lives from this pitiful existence, I had to weigh up that desire against the need to complete my scientific experiment.
Does science demand that humans are abused and mistreated?
If I had not been here, would you have lived differently? Would you have been rescued earlier? In fact, without my intervention, Captain Harding, you would have drowned at sea without ever reaching here. Is that not true? You would have had no tools, no pots and pans, no extra clothing, none of life's little amenities that I have provided. In fact, if I had not killed those goats, you would all have succumbed to the disease they were carrying. I saved Jack and Herbert's life in the Temple Cave. And Joanna can vouch for the assistance I have given her. I have done everything in my power to protect you from the terrors and troubles that may have befallen you. In return, you have supplied me with the scientific matter necessary for my experiment.
You tried to kill us. It was pure chance that Gideon was only pinned beneath that boulder.
You misunderstood an act that was merely meant to deter you from the direction you had taken. It is unfortunate that Mr. Spilett had to suffer some discomfort, but it was entirely successful in leading you to the cave you now call Granite House. Has it not been adequate for you?
And more than adequate for your needs. What about Cutler's ship? Did you blow that up?
These are the fellows who would have done unthinkable things to Mrs. Pencroft and would happily have killed you all.
Why kill Cutler? He was ready to give in. He'd let Joanna go. And he might have been a useful addition to our group.
Useful? Useful to who, Captain? Not to me. Not useful to me.
Between the few things that we have received from you and the dangers we have faced in being here so long, it seems to me that we have paid and you have gained in any reasonable accounting of what has happened. Have we paid enough now to earn your assistance?
Alive by my grace alone, yet ungrateful. How typical.
You've made a miraculous recovery. You thought you had concussion and couldn't be moved?
Yes, I have had a bit of a headache, but I'm better now, thank you.
Did you see Cutler?
I saw somebody wearing a most peculiar frock coat and a really rather silly ponytail. He ran in an effeminate manner, too. Not like our Cutler at all. Yes, it's a case of mistaken identity on our part.
Do you think Cyrus will be all right?
Oh, yes. This fellow's nothing but a pathetic old man. He's quite an odd-looking duck, actually. Armed to the teeth, of course.
Well, perhaps we should go down to the beach and look for him there. He must have come by boat.
Mr. Spilett has a nasty side to him, does he? Tell me, Captain, having seen my craft, would pathetic be your choice of description?
Astonishing would be more like it. Does it operate in much the same manner as a ship?
The Nautilus sails beneath the sea. It is faster and more efficient than any ship, and yet can be operated by one person. It is more impenetrable than the strongest fortress, and yet remains invisible to those on the high seas.
Then why do you live like a hermit? What have you to fear from anyone?
I have to take precautions for my own safety. The British would like nothing more than to capture and kill me.
For the British warships that you have destroyed.
Of course.
What about the innocent passengers on board? Women, children. Do you feel no remorse?
I feel no more remorse than they do for the women and children they have slaughtered. I would have thought that a man in your position who has benefited so greatly from the defeat of the British imperialists in his own country would want to applaud my small victories over them.
Perhaps I would have a better chance of understanding your scientific endeavors. Just what is it that you're studying, may I ask?
You have looked through these, have you not? No matter. They are the group equivalents of my Ayrton experiments. There you have Joanna, Herbert, Gideon, and of course, Jack Pencroft, who was cut so sadly short.
And Nebs as well.
We should go ahead.
I agree. I think we should stick to the plan.
But what if something's happened to him?
Look, no one cares more for Cyrus than I do, believe me.
Well, Captain,
Promised we'd wait.
it seems the lady has expressed her fancy. What say you now, Captain?
That's none of your business.
None of my business. You accuse me of prying into your lives, yet when you have the opportunity to look at your colleagues without them knowing it, you can't seem to tear yourself away. I defend my action by showing the scientific data I have collected. I don't imagine a scientific thought has crossed your mind for some time now. Has it, Captain?
As soon as the time runs out, we act.
We have to be prepared, that's all.
All right. Better get organized.
If I was truly as terrible a person as you say I am, Then why don't I just put the lot of you out of your misery?
You could have. By taking us off this island, like any sailor or ship finding lost souls in need of help. You could have taken us to New Zealand or Australia.
What makes you think I have any need for such a place? This place suits me perfectly.
I'm sure the simple fare available on this island doesn't always satisfy you. Fine wine, books, tailored clothes, that sort of thing.
If I do from time to time leave for the few supplies I need, believe me, it is of little consequence to you.
I'm asking you, please, in the name of humanity. We have suffered enough.
This will only work if we don't run into any serious resistance.
Yes, I feel a lot more comfortable when we still had our rifles.
Put all our hopes into this enterprise. If we fail, we'll lose what little we have. But if we have to live under this tyranny any longer, we won't survive anyway.
You plead for rescue while your Confederates plan an attack on me. You question my morals.
We had a plan in case I didn't come back. You can understand that, surely.
What I understand, Captain, is that while you've been distracting me with your pleadings and your questions, you have my demise in the back of your mind. You mentioned earlier that perhaps you thought I was nothing more than a murderer.
Why else have such a device? That isn't just for security, it's for killing.
Well, then perhaps I shouldn't disappoint you, Captain. You seem so intent on me being as you want to see me. Who wants to be the murderer now?
Mother? Are you all right?
Well, I think this ends any need to continue our waiting period. Joanna?
I've never come so close to killing one of you. And in fact, without your help, I wouldn't have come this close.
Hello? What have you done with Cyrus? Cyrus, can you give us a sign that you're all right?
Harding! Can you hear us, Harding?
Now show me how you operate this craft. If you won't help us, we'll do it ourselves, with or without you. I am willing to teach myself if you insist.
Go ahead if you need to. This vessel can do things you can't even begin to imagine. So how do you imagine you're going to teach yourself to pilot it? You have no idea. And I'm not going to teach you. Make no mistake, Captain Harding. I have the ability to do away with you at my pleasure.
Then why don't you go ahead and do it? If your ultimate goal is to do away with us anyway, what does it matter when?
I do what I want when I want to do it. At my pleasure is not at your pleasure.
Perhaps you can kill us anytime you want. But the fact is, you don't want to kill anyone, do you? Have I misjudged you all this time?
Don't know what you're talking about.
I think you're the one who is afraid. Afraid of being left alone on this island. You don't want to help us get away because then you would be alone. Maybe you would have preferred if we hadn't come this close, Captain, but the thought of not having us here at all is probably too much, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
Why do you live alone?
Because my experience with people has not been a particularly pleasant one. People are a much overrated species by and large. They turn on one another without warning. They have no sense of compassion and a heightened sense of greed. Not much evolved from the animal kingdom, with none of the positive attributes displayed by animals. You may be an exception in some regards, Captain, but what of it?
You spent a great deal of time observing us. You know, we're not like that.
Perhaps because you spend so much of your energy just trying to survive, you haven't had the opportunity to develop the ugly side of your personality, but it is in there. It's only a matter of time before it comes out.
So is the point of your dealing with us in this way to avoid coming into contact with the ugly side of our personalities? If the work that you're doing is in some way to help us to rid ourselves of our problems, wouldn't it be more efficient to be among us to succeed at this goal? If you really want to get to know us at our best or worst, isn't it necessary to be there with us? If you haven't been already. You were Sebastian Nile, weren't you? Or did he just work for you? Did you kill him?
Nile died 3 years ago.
What?
I have been working on ways to keep people alive long after they should be dead. If my research succeeds, in time, the world will benefit from my existence for 100, 200 years or more. And I was a failure. I disguised myself to look like him so that I could leave his body for you if it was necessary.
You want to be immortal?
I think perhaps I already may be. My life will live forever because of the deeds I've done. Would you mind going to the desk, bottom right-hand drawer, and getting me a hammer, please?
Not the tool of first choice, I would have thought, for working on something so delicate and complex.
Delicate things sometimes need a sharp crack. Get them to respond.
In the finest tradition of British tactical warfare, I'm suggesting we make a grape shot bomb. It's a bomb full of bullets and other metal objects. When it goes off, shrapnel flies in all directions. If the Phantom has a number of Confederates on board, it should take care of a number of them.
What about Cyrus?
Well, we won't use it if there's a danger to him. Do you think he can hear us?
I don't care anymore if he can.
Your experiments in bringing back people who are dead. Was that what you were doing with Jack?
No. What you saw was a moving photographic image. Let me show you. I can record sight and sound images of everything on this island. Anytime, anything, anywhere. Even if I'm asleep or otherwise occupied, I can record them and then view them later. You see, nothing escapes me.
You speak as though I should admire you for that.
No, I am content that you are aware of my capabilities. Should you try to deceive me?
You exhibit no remorse.
In order of your grief, have you found a way to distract yourself from that? The grieving widow?
If you really believe that my reaction to Jack's death was as you imply, then your experiment has been a complete failure. You've learned nothing about me.
Well then, Captain, perhaps you're right. I must admit, Captain, that the weaknesses I have anticipated are somewhat lacking in all of you. And it does seem as though you are honest and sincere.
You have nothing to fear from us. We could make you welcome.
I think it very unlikely I would have anything to add to your small society.
Take a chance. What possible harm can it do? Come with me to Granite House.
I will think about it when I finish my experiments.
Finish your experiments? You mean with us?
Well, I must finish what I have started. As I've said, Captain, science can be a strict taskmaster.
What kind of game are you playing with me? Don't you get tired of it? What possible amusement can it bring you? Well, I'm not playing now. If you will not accept our friendship, then you leave me little choice.
It would almost be worth watching you shoot an unarmed man, even if it had to be the last thing I would ever see.
Perhaps I'll grant you that last wish.
Before you end my life, consider another life you would end by pulling the trigger.
What are you talking about now? No. This can't be true. Neb, is it you?
Snakes are not only rare on this island, they're rather unique.
Very rare. We've never seen one.
Well, their venom doesn't kill in the short term. Rather, it puts their victims into a death-like coma. When I saw you bury him, I knew I had to act. Yes, he's as cold as a corpse. His body temperature has been lowered deliberately. You put that down.
You did this to him. Bring him back, now.
You haven't been paying attention. You buried him alive. I rescued him, and now I'm trying to save him. If you shoot me, it's down to you. Here, right here.
How can this be?
While I have been keeping him alive with this external breathing machine, I've been working on an antidote to the venom. I'm quite close.
If we make the charge big enough, should do the trick anyway.
Do you really think it's a good idea to make these, what did you call them?
Grape shot bombs. Yes. You never know what you'll come up against.
Right. Fire up the kiln.
There is nothing to do for him until I decide to do it. And since you're responsible for breaking this machine, you can help me fix it. By trying to wreck this machine, Captain, you have put both yourself and me at great risk.
See where your problem lies, but not mine.
If they carry on with their plan, Captain, they put themselves in great danger. There are a number of automatically triggered devices out there for my protection. Judging by the mess in the tunnel, it's something with which you have first-hand experience. Here. Steady. You can see how it fits.
I've never seen anything like it. You designed it yourself?
Yes, all of it. Everything you see around you and a lot that you don't. I suppose it must seem even more impressive to someone who thought he knew quite a lot about engineering.
I know enough to say you couldn't have built it alone. You've taken a great many highly skilled men. What happened to them?
What usually happens to traitors and mutineers?
I still don't understand why you built it.
To wage war on the British imperialists or anyone else who strays across my path.
I don't mean the vessel. I mean the island, the whole thing.
For the purpose it is now being used, of course.
But you couldn't possibly have known that we would end up here.
But if you hadn't arrived, I would have rescued a few survivors from a sailing ship.
So you were planning on a much larger group.
No. A little culling would have been necessary to achieve the desired number.
Is that why you did this to Neb?
We should conceal these as much as possible.
Yes. Good idea.
Well, let's go.
We should still try and use an element of surprise. How? Split up. Take separate tracks.
You should be pleased, Captain. Your tenacity and your unpredictability are the reasons your slave is still alive.
What do you mean by that?
I kept him as a bargaining point for just such an occasion as this. I reasoned early on that you might become an adversary.
I'm only an adversary because you have made me one. And it has never been a fair contest.
Of course not. Oh, you understand so little. My life is far too valuable to risk for the sake of bravado. Can't leave such things to chance. That's why I'll use any weapon at my disposal.
So you blow ships out of the water before they even know they're engaged in battle?
My position is clear. If a warship does not want to engage me in battle, it should not leave port. One man against the navies of the world is hardly unfair.
But you and your weapons, a match for the navies of the world. Against a small group of castaways, how can you call that a fair fight?
I am not fighting against you and your group. We are not opponents. If I wanted to fight, you would all have been dead the first day you arrived on this island. If you continue to regard me as an opponent, then the only weapon I have used is cunning.
Poisoning a man. And then keeping him barely alive to use as a bargaining tool against another is not cunning. It is unspeakable cruelty.
Yes. But very effective, don't you think? Now, let's see.
And when it's fixed, what happens then? We'll know you're watching, so what's the point? Or will you do away with us now and bring in a new group of specimens to play with?
This is not a game. This is science. I am not playing.
But your experiments with us must be over now, surely.
There is one final experiment. One which needs your cooperation.
I tricked my way in here to confront you, and you suddenly devise an experiment that requires my cooperation.
I knew you were coming.
What do you want of me?
Captain, don't sound so despondent. One last experiment and I will revive your slave for you.
He's not my slave.
A friend, then. But the more time I waste fixing things like this, the less time I have to spend revitalizing him, and he won't last forever. The more you distract me from him, the less chance he has. When the final experiment is completed satisfactorily, I'll take you all away from here.
I don't believe you.
Oh?
If you take us back to civilization, your secret will be no more.
You wouldn't keep my secret?
When you no longer have your bargaining tool, why would I keep your secret for you?
Oh, I wouldn't expect you to keep it for me. I would expect you to keep it for yourself. Really, Captain, I sometimes wonder if I have overestimated your intelligence. If you tell everybody about me, they will either think you're mad, or they will send ships to find me. Ships which I will surely sink. And their blood will be on your hands.
Tell me about the final experiment.
You seen Gideon?
No, not yet. But I had a look at the door. There's a crack at the top that would be a good place to set the charge, but we'll be out in the open for a couple of minutes.
Well, there's nothing we can do about that.
I dropped them. I only just caught them before they hit the ground. I tell you, I thought it was all over for a moment there.
I thought they needed a spark to go off.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if a good jolt was enough to set them off.
Well, Herb has found a good place to set the door charges.
I can climb up above the door. You come up behind me, and when we're in position, just pass me the charge.
Right. Well, off we go.
Well, what can I do?
Keep an eye out.
Right.
Hobart!
You will, under no circumstances, mention this meeting, or anything at all about my existence to any of the others. If you do so, I will know. And don't play any tricks, like going down to the sea so that I can't hear your plans. I can see and hear you everywhere. Remember your friend. I can switch him off a lot more easily than I can revitalize him. And don't let anybody leave the island. You know what will happen to any vessel you happen to board.
How long will this last experiment take?
Oh, that would be unscientific. If you knew how long it would take, it would affect your behavior.
You have to give me some idea. Days, weeks, months, years? Despite what I think of your motives for saving us, I'm still grateful to you for doing so.
Yeah, you see, I'm not so bad. As I thought. In return for saving your lives and taking you all away from here, there's one thing you must do in addition to keeping our secret.
What is it?
This is not a time for asking questions. This is a time for making a pact, binding from now on. Will you do as I say?
What if I say no?
Will you do as I say?
Yes, all right.
You must propose to Joanna.
Propose what?
Marriage, of course. What else?
But I am already married.
Not here, not in this world. Are you thinking of breaking our pact already?
No.
Good. Then come with me. Tomorrow morning, on a signal from me, you will take Joanne to this bay and propose to her. You know she'll accept.
Why here specifically?
I think it's time for you to leave. Captain Harding.
Already?
Are you sure this is the right thing to do?
We don't have another choice.
Cyrus, I thought we'd lost you.
No, I'm fine.
Where'd you come
I'm
from?
fine.
We thought you were in there.
I was. I came to a dead end. So I came back out. I've been looking for another way in. There's nothing. I thought I might find you back here.
There's nothing, but there must be something in there.
No, there's nothing. Just passageways and a dead end.
Well, Captain, this experiment may not take as long as you fear.
I now believe that there may never have been a phantom. I spent so long trying to convince you only to finally realize that I was wrong.
You looked into his eyes. I saw him.
Look, we shouldn't talk about this here.
Why not?
I suggest we all take a walk.
If you're suggesting that we go to the ocean to speak in private, it's not necessary. It's all been in my imagination.
What happened in there?
Nothing happened in there. There is nothing there. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I will take a walk.
Leave him be. Maybe he'll talk to me later.
Well, what do you make of it? Well, something happened in there.
Like what?
I don't know. I've never seen him this way before. Perhaps he refuses to speak of it because he has proof that the Phantom hears us everywhere. Either that or he's gone mad. I think we should follow him. See if we can find out what he's up to.
Spy on him?
Any other ideas?
Seems strange coming here. Now that I know where you are. I promise you, Neb. No matter what, somehow I'll get you out of there.
Very careful, Captain Harding. Your actions are being watched and interpreted. Even if you break our pact by accident, you'll be needing that cross.
What would he do that for?
What if he saw the Phantom? Spoke to him, but for some reason he's keeping it to himself?
But why?
I don't know. Just trying to understand his behavior.
Well, it's possible, although it doesn't seem very likely to me.
No, doesn't.
How do you explain somebody just going mad?
I don't know. I thought people went mad over a period of time, not all of a sudden.
Am I interrupting something?
No, we were just, talking.
Look, Cyrus may be acting a little strangely, but that's no reason to start treating him like an outcast. Strange things have happened before. He'll be all right in a few days.
Well, until he is, I don't feel he can be trusted.
His behavior toward us has been nothing but honorable. And now at the first sign of trouble, you want to just cast him aside.
Joanna, I am not suggesting casting him aside.
His behavior towards us has been strange, to say the least.
Until something changes, and I mean no disrespect or disloyalty, Joanna. But I should be watching what goes on very closely.
Gideon's right. He's not the same man.
Harding! We're all a little concerned for you.
Well, don't be. I'm perfectly all right.
What if he saw something in there that made him believe we'd never be rescued, and he can't bring himself to tell us?
It's possible. But what, though? What could he have seen?
He's asked me to go for a walk with him tomorrow. Maybe he'll tell me then.
He asked you to go for a walk. Did he say why?
No. Let's just wait and see what he has to say.
I'm not happy about this.
Believe me, I know how you feel. But certainly we can still trust him with her, can't we?
Oh, here we are deciding that we can still trust him when we know full well he's concealing something from us. Come on, we've got to follow them.
Wait. Let's just see what he has to say to her.
Can you tell me why we're going so far?
That would spoil the surprise. Shall we press on?
Might as well.
Here we are. Well, Joanna, I now believe that we shall be here for a very long time. Perhaps forever. Since that is the case, I think that we should plan to get on with the rest of our lives in the best way that we can. Joanna, I don't know how we... Joanna, will you consent